Hi everyone, I'm Lady Teddy. I'm going to be reading to you guys from Magium, which is a text-based choose-your-own-adventure game story app that is free and it's on both Android and iOS, and I highly recommend it. If you guys want to know what's going on in the story, want to do your own playthrough, or if you guys want to know what's going on in the story and don't want to do your own playthrough, you can also go to my YouTube channel, where all of my previous readings are in a Magium playlist. Here's the link right here for anyone that's interested in checking that out now. But there's a lot of different playthroughs that you can do. There's like smart, dumb, evil, good, all sorts of, like, there's a lot of different playthroughs that you can do. And I haven't even done all of them. So I would highly recommend you guys download it for yourself if you're interested. The way that this works is I know that a lot of people like my voice and like falling asleep or relaxing, and that is absolutely acceptable. So whenever we get to a decision, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read out what the options are. I'm going to remind you guys what the goal is, and if no one wants to participate, that's totally fine. I will make a decision at the end of the minute. If people do want to participate, I will allow you guys to... or I will go with whatever the majority of the chat has decided after a minute or so has gone off. So yeah, that's how this works. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask about what's going on. Currently, we are in Book 2, Chapter 3, and we are achievement hunting because I think we need 25 achievements to unlock the third book. So we were doing a smart, good playthrough, but currently we're just trying to get the achievements. Oh, and I forgot to open it. Go me. Here we are. I knew I was forgetting something. For anyone who's watching this on YouTube and wants to know what's going on, currently it is September and I'm doing name tags. So anyone who... so the Gallant Man gifted a sub earlier today, which means that they get a name tag, and he wanted a very fancy gallant on my forehead. Okay, so what's going on right now? Currently, the main party has been Soul, what's going on right now is I'm reading out loud from a text-based choose-your-own-adventure game called Magium. So currently, the main party, they were accused of a crime, or they were there when someone else committed a crime, and they're taking the fall for it. Their punishment is they have to go through a life or death gladiator style arena where they have to fight monster waves and other gladiators. And they were all separated because the person running the arena wants to make sure that they die. The main character, Barry, has met someone in his arena division named Layla, who is another Lasathi. They realized that they were able to go underground where all of the monsters were kept, so they went down there to try and sabotage the arena by killing off some of the monsters before the arena started. They ran into a Luna, and who's a member of the party who wasn't accused of the crime. So they ran into a Luna, who's a Banshee mage. She's a Banshee. She's there with her ally, Fearon, who is also, well, he has a magic staff. I don't think he's a mage. And they are also sabotaging the arena, and now they are going into well, actually, yeah, that's what's going on. There's a Luna, Firon, Layla, Barry, and they also met up with another mage who is a talking tiger. I don't remember his name. Firon, is this the last tunnel before the labyrinth? Aluna says. Yes, Firon says. The tunnel's exit should leave us very close to the maze's entrance. Wait, what mage? Or what maze, I say. Do you know that old legend, Firon says, in which the gods work together to build an elaborate maze for the sole purpose of trapping the king of the Minotaurs? Well, it seems that the owner of the arena liked the story so much that he decided to build his own underground labyrinth as soon as he got a hold of a Minotaur. Unfortunately, I did not have a chance to visit these tunnels since the maze was created, so once we reach it, I won't know my way around as well as I have so far. I don't think that will be a problem, Aluna says, since there will likely be no need to hide ourselves anymore once we reach the maze. They will surely have caught on to our presence by then. I think we should be able to handle their guards by ourselves easily if worst comes to worst. If worst comes to worst, I'll wake up Flower as well. I'm sorry, who is Flower? Layla writes, confused. Flower is the little girl inhabiting this body, Aluna says. You mean she's still alive? Layla writes, shocked. But aren't you a banshee? Didn't you consume her soul when you took over her body? Aluna laughs. If only it would have been that easy, she says. Unfortunately, the two of us have been stuck together in this body for the past 20 years, and will likely continue living like this for years to come. Our souls are fused. I see, Layla writes, simply. She looks as if she'd still have some questions to ask, but ultimately she decides against it. As the tunnel's exit draws closer, Aluna reopens Uraka's amulet, and she asks her if she can spot any enemies nearby. Oh, so now you want me to talk, Uraka says. Oh, and there's Uraka, who is a evil banshee in an amulet. You're not going to close the amulets in my face anymore? Well, what if I don't want to talk? What do you have to say to that? If you're not planning to talk, then I have no further need of you, Aluna says as she starts to close the amulet. Have a good nap. Wait, Uraka says, just as Aluna was about to close the amulet completely. Okay, fine. You win. There are some trolls much farther down the next tunnel, but they're not in viewing range of the maze's entrance. The coast is clear. That doesn't sound right, Aluna says. They should have at least some guards. They should have at least some guards at the entrance of the labyrinth. I'm much more inclined to believe that they've become aware of our presence and that they deliberately emptied the next tunnel in order to lure us into the maze. That changes little, Firon says. The only way to reach the Minotaur is through the maze. If the trolls choose to stand in our way, then we'll just have to make our way through them. Once we reach the next corridor, we make sure that the coast is indeed clear, and then we proceed to enter the maze. The walls inside the labyrinth look a bit different from all the rocky walls that we've seen in the cavern so far. They are black as coal, and they appear to be made from a different material. Furon, who seems to have spotted the difference as well, gets closer to one of the walls, and he looks... Furon, who seems to have spotted the difference as well, gets closer to one of the walls, and he looks at it curiously. He swipes the wall briefly with his index finger, and then he brings the finger closer to his face, studying the black powder that has accumulated on the tip of it attentively. "Tell me, Araka," the goblin says, "are you sensing any trolls nearby?" "What?" Araka says. "No, I already told you the coast is clear." "Are you sure?" Furon says. "What kind of question is that?" Araka says. "Of course I'm sure." "Oh," Furon says, "then could you perhaps describe to me what lies beyond this black wall?" "Yeah, hold on a sec," Furon says. For about 10 seconds we wait silently for Araka's answer. "Well," Furon says, "weren't you going to describe to us what's on the other side of the wall?" "There's a bit of interference," Araka says. "I'm still working on it." "Oh, then by all means," Furon says. "Do not let this old goblin's ramblings interrupt you from your work. Please, take all the time you need." It takes 30 more seconds of silence until Aluna finally snaps. By the gods," she shouts. "Good gods," she shouts. "How long is it going to take you to admit the obvious? The wall is clearly made from a material that blocks magical sense. We can't wait. We can wait here all day, and you're still not going to get through it. Are you really that stubborn?" "Fine," Araka says. "I admit it. I can't get through it. I have no idea what's on the other side. Are you happy now?" Furon grins. Wait, I forgot to read to you guys what the achievements are that we're looking for in this chapter. So, we need 4 more achievements to unlock the 3rd book, and there's only one available. The Golden Cage, find out why Aluna can cast the Spirit Fox's Golden Cage, which I know how to get this one, but I don't think, yeah. I'll let you guys know. Furon grins. "Thank you, Araka. I believe that will suffice," he says. "As Aluna noted, this wall is made from a material that does not allow magical sense to pass through. This type of black rock is not uncommon in underground caves such as this, as it is called Ceridium. The owner of the arena must have chosen to build his labyrinth here specifically because of the existence of these rocks. There wouldn't have been much of a point in making a labyrinth if people could just use their magical sense to see through walls, now would there?" As the goblin was talking, Layla was busy inspecting the floor of the cave, with a very focused look on her face. Furon notices her, and he goes closer in an attempt to figure out what she is studying so attentively. "Is there something special about this corridor's floor?" Furon asks her. Layla nods. She then points towards a black spot on the ground, which is almost indistinguishable from the color of the rest of the floor. "This is no ordinary black stain," Layla writes. "It is troll blood. Look, There's more over there. And there as well. The trail is fresh. If we follow the drops of blood, they might just lead us to the Minotaur. Or the trolls could very well be baiting us so that we walk directly into their ambush, the tiger says. Since when do trolls leave blood trails anyway? Oh, that was the tiger. What was the voice I used for the tiger? Or the troll... I think this was it. Or the trolls could very well be baiting us so that we walk directly into their ambush, the tiger says. Since when do trolls leave blood trails anyway? Don't they have regeneration powers that heal all of their wounds in a matter of seconds? Not all of them, Aluna says. The effectiveness of their regeneration varies from individual to individual. There's also certain types of wounds that heal slower than others. We have no way of knowing whether this trail was left deliberately or accidentally. Not that it matters, really. As long as we aim to reach the Minotaur, we're going to run into the trolls sooner or later, whether we follow this trail or not. Propose to follow the blood trail. Propose to avoid the blood trail. Okay. One of these will get us the achievement, one of these won't. If someone would like to... If you guys want me to just make the correct decision, let me know. And if you don't, you know what? I could save here. And if you guys want to try and guess on your own... yeah. If there's anyone that would like to participate, now is your chance. Otherwise, I will make the correct decision in about a minute. Just a reminder to you guys, right now we are achievement hunting, we're not playing this as if we're role-playing. But yes, it's really good, and I would really recommend you download it for yourself. It is free, and it's on Android and iOS, and it's called Magium, and the cover that I have, the Magium picture, that's what the app looks like. And there's like stats and stuff, so it's like D&D inspired, so there's stats and stuff, so there will be times where it's like, if you don't have ancient languages and you interact with someone who speaks a language that you don't get that information. Or that ally. Or sometimes there'll be like writing on walls and stuff, and sometimes you're not able to read it because you don't have ancient languages. Or there'll be a rock that you want to move, but you can't because you don't have enough strength. Yeah, there's a lot of different playthroughs that you can do. It's extremely complicated. Okay. In that case, I propose that we follow the blood trail, I say. If the trolls left it deliberately, then we'll have to fight them like we were already planning to. But if they did it by accident, then at least we won't have to waste hours of our time navigating the labyrinth. A valid proposal, Furon says. Does anyone have any objections? As I've said, it's all the same to me, Aluna says. Do what you want, the tiger says. Layla remains silent, but she does not appear to want to make any objections. Very well, then, the Furon says. We will pursue the blood trail. However, our first priority should be the mapping of this maze. Araka, I understand that you have the ability to generate holograms. Yeah, Araka says, but I can't make a map of this place for my magical sense can't pass through the walls. It doesn't matter, Furon says. You can just draw the map as we walk. What's important is that we don't lose track of where we are. I will be marking the walls periodically as we advance through the maze, for that same purpose. All right then, Araka says. Here goes. She then conjures a hologram similar to the one she made in the ogre stronghold, where we are represented by colored dots, and the map is covered by a black fog, except for the corridor that we are currently in. In the meantime, Furon uses his staff to imprint a complex symbol on the wall to our right in magical green ink. We're good to go, Furon says. Follow me. As we walk, the fog from Araka's map is beginning to clear little by little, getting replaced by parts of the maze that we already know, while Furon is making sure that he leaves no wall unmarked. Aren't you going to ask me what the complex symbol I'm marking the walls with means, Barry? Furon says with a grin. No, thanks, I say. It's not worth owing you another favor just to get an answer to that question. You are learning fast, Furon says when he marks yet another wall with his green inked symbol. Hearing check successful level 4, ancient languages check successful level 3. As we advance through the corridors, I suddenly hear the voices of several trolls talking in low voices far away from our position. The language they are communicating in is one that I haven't heard before, but luckily the knowledge that I received from my stat device is enough for me to understand them. Please, one of the trolls says, at least remove the arrow. Is that a good voice for this guy? My voice doesn't really get deeper. We'll remove the arrow from your wound as soon as you're done with your task, another troll says. Now, tell me, do you remember what you need to do? Yes, the wounded troll says while breathing heavily. I need to lure the intruders, and when they're near me, I press the button. Exactly, the other troll says, and as soon as you press the button, we'll receive our signal and we'll know that we can ambush the invaders. After we kill them all, you will receive your treatment. Yes, the wounded troll says. The treatment. Do not fail us like before, the other troll says, and after this last phrase, the corridor once again falls silent. A few minutes later, we finally reach the end of the trail of blood, which leads us to a dead end, but also to a wounded troll with an arrow stuck in his chest, sitting on the ground with his back leaning against a wall. We study the troll with his surroundings from a safe distance in an attempt to figure out that this In an attempt to figure out if this is supposed to be the setup for an ambush, in an attempt to figure out if this is supposed to be the setup for an ambush or not, but there's no way to tell for sure. Are you the intruders? The troll says in common while breathing heavily. We are indeed, Furon says. Please, the troll says. Could you help me remove this arrow from my chest? And why would we do something like that? Furon says. You are looking for the Minotaur. Yes? The troll says. If you help me, I can lead you to him. I know the way. Help him remove the arrow, leave him to die. Where are all the other trolls you were talking to earlier? I will let... If there's anyone that would like to participate, now is your chance. Otherwise, I will be making a decision for us in about a minute. Okay. Where are all the other trolls you were talking to earlier? The troll panics when he hears what I had to say, but he tries in vain to appear calm and collected. What other trolls? The troll says. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm the only troll here. The others left me here to die. You're hiding something behind your back, aren't you? I tell him. Some sort of remote? I heard the other trolls telling you to press the button after you convinced us to approach you. No! The troll says. You must have misheard something. You do realize that the remote they gave you is probably meant to trigger an explosion, don't you? I tell him. If they really wanted to ambush us, they wouldn't have needed a signal. If they really wanted to ambush us, they wouldn't have needed a signal to know when to come. All they had to do was hide somewhere nearby. No, that's not true, the troll shouts. They would never do something like this. They wouldn't? I ask him. What about that arrow in your chest, then? As far as I know, we should be the only intruders in these caverns. Who shot that arrow at you, if not the other trolls? They said that they would treat my wound if I completed my task, the troll says. Hey, if you trust your friends that much, then who am I to convince you otherwise? I say. Go ahead and press that button. Your cover has been blown anyway, so you might as well use that signal to call your friends to help. Right? The troll looks at me helplessly as he holds his thumb over the button. But in the end, he does not have the courage to press it, and he lowers his head in defeat. I see that you've finally decided to stop deluding yourself, I tell him. That's good. It means that now we might actually be able to work out a deal. How about it? You give me that remote of yours, and I'll remove the arrow for you. Then you can hold your promise. You can hold your promise of leading us to the Minotaur. Sounds good? The troll made no sound for the next few seconds. You speak to me as if I had a choice, the troll says. Okay, guys. I've been trying to think, like, do I want to let you guys finish the chapter? You know, for the sake of my voice, I'm just gonna say we made the wrong decision back there, so we're gonna go back and redo it. And get the achievement. We're going to avoid the blood trail. In that case, I propose we avoid the trail, I say. Even if we're going to fight the other trolls, even if we're going to fight the trolls either way, I'd still rather fight them on our own terms than risk giving them the advantage. A valid proposal, Firon says. Does anyone have any objections? As I've said, it's all the same to me, Aluna says. No objections from me, the tiger says. Layla remains silent and does not make any objections, even though she does not seem to agree wholeheartedly with our decision. Very well then, Firon says. We will not pursue the blood trail. If we're going to begin exploring the other paths, then our first priority should be mapping this maze. Araka, I understand that you have the ability to generate holograms. Yeah, Araka says, but I can't make a map of this place if my magical sense can't pass through the walls. It doesn't matter. You can just draw the map as we walk. What's important is that we don't lose track of where we are. I will be marking the walls periodically as we advance through the maze for the same purpose. Alright then, Araka says. Here we go. Or here goes. She then conjures a hologram similar to the one she made in the ogre stronghold, where we are represented by colored dots and the map is covered by a black fog except for the corridor that we are currently in. In the meantime, Firon uses his staff to imprint a complex symbol on the wall to our right, in magical green ink. We're good to go, Firon says. Follow me. As we walk, the fog from Araka's map begins to clear little by little, getting replaced by the parts of the map that we already know, while Firon is making sure he leaves no wall unmarked. Aren't you going to ask me what the complex symbol I'm marking the walls with means, Barry? Firon says, with a grin. No, thanks, I say. If it's not worth owing you another favor just to answer that question. You are learning fast, Firon says, and then he marks yet another wall with his green inked symbol. We walk through the maze for about 15 minutes, without encountering any resistance. Along the way, we reach a few dead ends. Along the way, we reached a few dead ends, but Araka marked them all on the map so there would be no risk of running into them again. As we continued our journey through the maze, however, we ran into a situation that we had not predicted. Even though we'd been carefully following Araka's map the whole time, somehow we ended up in the middle of a corridor that had already been marked with Furon's green symbol. Dumbfounded, we all look at Araka's map in an attempt to understand what we missed, while Furon carefully inspects his symbol from the wall. "How is this possible?" Aluna says. "I've been closely monitoring Araka's map while she was drawing it, and I am certain that it's accurate. According to the map, this should be an unexplored area. Did the trolls manage to falsify the green symbol?" "It's not a copy," Furon says. "My mark cannot be so easily reproduced. And aside from that, I also recognize this corridor. I can tell you with a certainty that we've been here before. Although I'm not exactly sure how we..." As he is talking, a certain rock formation in front of the wall catches his eye, and it makes him stop talking mid-sentence. He says as he gets closer to the wall. As he gets closer to the wall and he taps it lightly with his staff. "The goblin is not wrong," we hear a voice coming from a darker part of the corridor. As the one who just spoke gets closer to us, we see that he is a particularly bulky troll, wearing anti-magic armor from head to toe and holding 2 scimitars in his hands. He is grinning triumphantly. You've been running in circles ever Oh, this is not the same one. "You've been running in circles ever since you entered this maze," the troll says. "I knew that you'd be coming back to this corridor soon." "Psst," I whispered to Aluna, while the troll is giving us his victory speech. "Why aren't you killing him?" "He is wearing anti-magic armor, and he has a helmet," Aluna whispers back to me. "That means I can't make my water sharp against him, so I won't be able to cut his head off with my water whips." "Yeah, but isn't anti-magic armor basically just regular armor with some protections? With some protections on it?" I whispered. "Can't flour burn him alive?" There is no anti-magic armor in existence without protection from fire," Aluna whispers. "Casting fire magic on him would be pointless." While the two of us were whispering, hiding behind Layla and the tiger, the troll seems to have finished his gloating and is now preparing to attack. "There is no way for you to escape," the troll says. "Resign yourselves to your fate. Today is the last day of..." Layla appears to have had enough, and she makes a dash towards the troll, shocking him with her speed and slashing his head right off with her dagger in an instant. Instead of dropping to the ground, however, the troll's body attacks her with the 2 scimitars, which Layla barely manages to avoid by making a quick jump backwards. "That is not how you begin a battle, human," the troll's head says from the ground. Attacking an enemy out of the blue without even giving them proper warning is a mark of cowardice. Did they not teach you proper gladiator etiquette when they brought you to the arena?" His body then picks up his head from the ground and he places it back on top of its neck. Within seconds, the head attaches itself back into its body, making it look as if there had never been a wound in the first place. A troll that doesn't die even when you cut its head off, Furon says. This is not what I signed up for. Aluna, use the cage spell. I can only use that spell once per day, Aluna says. If I use it now... It doesn't matter, Firon says. You won't need to use it later. I have a plan. Cage him now. Aluna frowns at him, but she does as he asked. She stretches her arm towards the troll, and out of nowhere a golden cage appears around him, trapping him inside. It is the same spell that she used to trap us when we were at the ogre fort. The golden fox's spell.
Do you seriously think that a mere cage can stop me? The troll says as he begins slashing furiously at the cage's golden bars.
Yes, we do, Firon says, as he smacks his staff on the ground, generating a cloud of gray smoke that fills the entire corridor. I then hear the sound of rocks moving to my right, and after that I see the outlines of my companions through the smokes moving past me. Over here, I hear Aluna's voice as she grabs me by the arm and pulls me towards her. I follow her through the smoke, and we both enter a narrow passage leading to the other side of one of the walls. Once we are through, Firon smacks his staff into the cave's wall from the outside, and the hole in the wall closes itself back up. He then makes his way past us to retake the lead, and he smacks his staff on the ground. He then makes his way past us to retake the lead, and he smacks his staff on the other end of the passage, opening the other secret door, which leads us to an unexplored corridor without any markings on the walls. That cage isn't going to hold him for long, Aluna says as we make our way out of the passage, and the secret door closes itself behind us. Would you mind telling us what this plan of yours is? He doesn't need to be held for long, Firon says. I very much doubt that he knows about the existence of that secret passage, so he is not going to find us anytime soon. More importantly, I recognize that corridor from earlier, and I recognize this one I recognize this one as well. It seems that they've kept some of the old corridors, included them in the labyrinth when they built this place. If that's the case, then I think I have a pretty good idea where we are, and the Minotaur's cell should not be far from here. Follow me. Achievement unlocked, the golden cage. I've been meaning to ask, I tell Aluna. Wasn't the golden cage from earlier one of the golden fox's spells? How did you manage to learn it? It is not the fox's spell, Aluna says. It is a complex spell that can only be used by that can only be used by beings that originate from the magical plane. I learned it from Araka. I see, I say. Ha! I was wondering why I didn't remember there being a wall on this side, Firon says. As we turn to him, we see him walk straight through one of the walls, disappearing from our sights. Come over here, Firon says from the other side. The wall is an illusion. This is how they must have been fooling us for so long. If they've got illusions like this set up, then I wouldn't put it past them to also have a spell cast on this place that messes with our sense of direction. That would explain why Araka's map didn't help. It doesn't matter, though. If my intuition is correct, we should almost be there. Or we should be almost there. We walk through the illusory wall, and we continue our journey through and we continue our journey towards the Minotaur. A few minutes later, we were almost at our destination, and we encounter a few more trolls, who were likely the ones who were chosen to guard the Minotaur's cell. They barely got the time to react to our presence before Aluna sliced their heads off with her signature water whip. "Aren't you going to burn the bodies?" I asked the goblin. "I'm not wasting any more energy from my staff for something this trivial," Furon says. "If you want, you can hide the bodies yourself. Not that it would make much of a difference at this point. Hide the bodies, leave the bodies where they are." I'll give y'all about a minute. Okay, I see Asphal and Soul say leave the bodies, and Lucia says hide them. Can't melt them. We don't have magic. So we are going to leave the bodies where they are, because that's 2. Oh, and at this point we are just sort of playing through. Just so you guys know. We got all of the achievements necessary for this chapter. So now we're just trying to get to chapter 4. Yeah, I say. I guess there wouldn't be much of a point in hiding bodies if we're almost at the end of the maze. Let's keep going. We make our way towards the end of the corridor, where we find a single cell with a magical panel on the wall beside it. Inside the cell, there is only one prisoner with the head of a bull and the body of a man lying on the floor, with his back against the wall. The Minotaur is taller than Darren, and he has twice the muscles. When he hears us arrive, he does not move an inch, and he doesn't even turn his head to look at us. "Who are you?" the Minotaur asks. "I guess I was right when I figured that they placed you in the old paralysis cell," Furon says. "The maze's only purpose would be to keep the intruders out, not to keep you in." Who are you?" the Minotaur asks again. "I am Furon, the general of all free goblins in Varathia," Furon says. "I've come here to recruit you to join my army." "What do you say?" "A goblin army," the Minotaur says. He laughs bitterly. "I never thought I'd live to see the day," the Minotaur says.
when I would actually seriously consider an offer like this. It's not as bad as you might think, Firon says. At the very least, in our goblin camp, you should have access to more food than here, and you wouldn't have to spend your days locked up in a paralysis cell. Or would you rather spend the rest of your life entertaining these humans? This goblin army of yours, the Minotaur says, is it only made of goblins, or have you also recruited other warriors such as myself to join it before? It is made mostly of goblins, Firon says, but our goblin camp accepts all races just as long as they follow our rules and pay the yearly tribute. And just how much is this? And just how much is this yearly tribute? The Minotaur asks. It depends, Firon says. On average, it is about 1 copper piece for each goblin. Per year? The Minotaur asks, somewhat surprised. Per year, Firon says. And why is it that you are recruiting? The Minotaur asks. Are you preparing for war? That remains to be seen, Firon says. For the moment, let's just say that I like being cautious. The Minotaur pauses for a bit to consider the goblin's words. We can negotiate the terms of your employment later, if you wish, Firon says. The last thing I would want is to force you into this by taking advantage of your current situation. All I want is your word that you will take my offer seriously, and that you will join me on my trip back to the goblin camp. I know how much Minotaurs value honor, so as long as you give me your word, that is enough for me. We can discuss the details afterwards. You are clearly a skilled diplomat, goblin. The Minotaur says, you have a gift for finding the exact words that someone wants to hear, and you deliver them at just the right moment. Normally, my natural hatred for diplomats would make me not think twice before refusing your offer, but in this case, as you are well aware, I do not have much of a choice. He pauses again. Very well, General Firon, the Minotaur says. I give you my word that as long as you free me from here, I will accompany you. I will accompany you to your goblin camp, and I will take your employment offer as seriously as I am able. That is all I wanted to hear, Firon says with a grin. He then uses his staff to cast a... Mr. Kennedy, hello, welcome in. He then uses his staff to cast a spell on the panel outside of the cell, which deactivates the paralysis spell and opens the gate. How are you planning to get me out of these caverns? The Minotaur says, as he gets up on the ground and walks out of his cell. Good morning and good evening. By using magic, Firon says. It just so happens that Illuna and I are both rather adept at spellcasting, and we both have the ability to teleport within certain limitations. He then turns to Aluna. Aluna, Furon says, can you teleport the Minotaur to the surface? As far as I know, your daily teleportation spell does not have a weight limit. Mine, on the other hand, costs additional energy for every extra pound. I would rather you take the Minotaur with you because he is by far the heaviest in the group. I will be with you shortly after I lead your friends to the secret passage I mentioned earlier. Aluna nods, and the goblin now turns towards the Minotaur. Once you are on the surface, Aluna and I won't be able to help you, Furon says. Everyone in the city knows your face from the arena, so she can't be seen fighting alongside you unless she wants to get a criminal record. Don't wait for us. As soon as you're out of the caverns, make a rush towards the city gates, smash right through them, and don't stop until you reach the Mertram Woods. We will meet you there. I will be waiting, the Minotaur says. We should get going, Aluna says as she grabs the Minotaur's hand in order to get ready for teleportation. She gives us all one last look, stopping her gaze for a few seconds when her eyes meet mine. Don't die, she tells me simply. I won't, I say. She then casts her teleportation spell, and both her and the Minotaur disappear from our sight. This way, Furon says as he goes back the way we came from. He then stops by a wall, and he taps it lightly 3 times with his staff, causing a secret door to open up and to reveal a hidden passage. This tunnel will lead you back to the upper levels, Furon says. I trust that you will be able to find your way back to your cells from there. We'll manage, I say. I think that I should also mention that the tunnel can only be opened from this side, Furon says. Once you enter it, you won't be able to go back. The goblin then turns to Layla. As far as I know, he says, Barry is required to return to his cell unless he wants to get disqualified from the tournament. You, however, are bound by no such rules. If you want, I could give you a lift. There is enough energy in my staff remaining to teleport 1 extra person. Thank you, Layla writes, but I'm fine. I will take the tunnel. Are you sure? The goblin asks. I promise that I won't charge you much. I'm positive, Layla writes. Very well then, Furon says as he readies his staff, and he signals the tiger to come near him. Oh, there was one last thing I wanted to tell you, Furon says as he looks towards me. A few days ago, 4 goblins that I'd exiled from my camp came back, with the 2 copper pieces that they required in order to pay the yearly tribute. When I asked them where they got the money from, they said that they got it from a scrawny human who was traveling with a dark-skinned warrior dressed in heavy armor, and 2 other women. They also said that the warrior had an X-shaped scar on his forehead. Since the warrior they were talking about is clearly the healer in armor, I can only assume that the scrawny human was you? Yeah, that was me, I say. Furon says, giving me a curious look for a few seconds. Well, the 4 goblins said that they were very eager to meet you again, so if you ever find your way into our goblin camp, be sure to drop by their house. I'm sure that they will be of help to you in one way or another. Sure thing, I say. If I ever have business there, I will pay them a visit. Furon nods, and he prepares to cast his teleportation spell. I wish you both luck, the goblin says. Next time we meet, I hope it will be under better circumstances. He then casts his spell and he vanishes into thin air alongside the tiger. Layla and I waste no time and we enter the secret tunnel as the door shuts itself behind us. You have some very unique friends, Layla writes, smiling, as we walk through the dark corridor. What's that supposed to mean? Actually, only one of them is my friend. You can say that again. If anyone has a preference here, now is your chance, otherwise I will make a decision for us in about a minute. I've been doing good. How about you, Mr. Kennedy? Uh-oh, looks like we got a tie. By the way, Azafel, hello. I don't know if I said hi when you popped in. It's good to see ya. Go with Az? Okay. According to the recording, I've been going for a little over an hour. I'm gonna try. I don't think there's much left of this chapter from what I remember. I'm gonna try and finish it. Especially since I know that there aren't any achievements left in this chapter. What's that supposed to mean? Oh, I didn't mean it in a bad way, Layla writes. It's just that I wasn't expecting to meet 2 banshees and a goblin mage in the same day. Well, to be fair, I can't say that I was expecting the goblin either, I say. But after the time I've spent here in Varathia, nothing really surprises me anymore. I pause for a few seconds and then I change the subject. Why didn't you accept the goblin's offer earlier? I ask her. Is it because you didn't trust him? Oh, no. It's not that, Layla writes. It's just that I never intended to break out of here. Why not? I say. Couldn't you just run past all the guards in the city now that your wounds are healed? Layla shakes her head. The Lasathi that framed my father are watching me carefully, she writes. As long as I survive the arena, the charges against me will be dropped, and they won't be able to touch me. But if I escape illegally... sorry. And they won't be able to touch me. But if I escape illegally, they will use all of the means at their disposal to hunt me down. I would never make it to the city gates alive. You are saying that you'd rather fight the creatures from the arena, I say, than have a direct confrontation with the Lasathi from the city? Yes, Layla writes. The Lasathi have powerful magical artifacts. or have powerful artifacts that allow them to use magic, similar to the staff that the Goblin General was using. At least in the arena, nobody is allowed to use magic so long as I have my stat device. I can stand a chance. So as long as I have my stat device, I can stand a chance. Yeah, I guess I see your point, I say. Speaking of stat devices, I think we should pull them out to light this place up a bit. The goblin did say there might be traps around here, so we should watch our step. We walk down the dark tunnel for a few minutes, carefully checking every step of the way for traps or enemy ambushes. As we step into a larger area, lit by the Mr. Cunningham, I'm sorry I didn't respond to what you said. This new schedule, I didn't realize you were on a new schedule. I used to work a job that was graveyard, and I actually liked it. Once my sleep schedule adjusted, I liked it a lot more. I feel like I sleep better during the day for some reason. We walk carefully down the dark tunnel for a few minutes, carefully checking our steps, carefully checking every step of the way for traps or enemy ambushes. As we step into a larger area lit by the glowing blue crystals that we've seen before, we realize that all of our efforts to spot hidden ambushes have been wasted, because the enemy was waiting for us here in this very room without making any effort at hiding themselves. A single troll stands between us and freedom. Unfortunately for us, it is the troll that we would have wanted to meet the least. It is the one that we managed to avoid earlier thanks to Aluna's golden cage spell. However, Aluna is not here now, and our chances of survival are looking slim. The bulky troll grins triumphantly at us, like before, and he announces his presence by speaking as loudly as possible.
Did you really think you could get away that easily after all you've done?
The troll says,
Unfortunately for you, the existence of this passage was never a secret to us. As soon as you triggered the alarm by freeing the Minotaur from his cell, I knew at once that you would use this tunnel to escape. Now tell me, where is the Minotaur?
He's gone, I tell him. He teleported away with our friends. I doubt you'll ever see him again.
You are lying, the troll shouts furiously. You would have never went through the trouble of navigating the maze if you could have just teleported in and out at your leisure. And if your friends really did teleport out of here, then they would have surely taken you with them. If you're not going to tell me when the Minotaur is, I'll just have to walk over your dead bodies and search for him myself. You should know by now that you stand no chance against me. If you want this to be over quickly, then don't move. I will be sure to grant you a merciful death.
That will not be necessary, Velgos. We hear a voice coming from behind the troll. The man who spoke shows himself to us, and we see that he is rather plump, with short black hair and a goatee, wearing clothes that appear to be made entirely out of silk. The way that he looks and dresses would normally make me peg him as a noble, if it weren't for the look in his eyes, which is similar to that of the Goblin Generals. That look makes him seem more like a war veteran that has seen many battles in his lifetime than a pampered rich person who's lived his life in luxury.
But owner,
The Velgos, the troll, says,
these These are the intruders who came here to free the Minotaur. We need to eliminate them quick before they let him escape to the surface.
The Minotaur is already gone, the man says. I saw him teleport out of here with my own eyes. There is nothing else for you to do here. Return to your post.
I refuse,
Velgos says, baring his teeth at his master.
They are responsible for the deaths of many of my comrades. I am not going to let them go.
It's about time you came at the right moment. Because Magium? I'm not telling you to let them go, the owner says. I'm only asking you to postpone your fight with them until the second round of the arena. The Minotaur is gone, and you are the only warrior we have who is on par with him combat-wise. I will pay you handsomely if you join the fights in the arena, and you will also have your chance to avenge your fallen comrades, since these two will be participating in the fights. Wouldn't that be a better alternative for you than to lose your job needlessly because you lacked patience? Well, welcome in, Phoenix full of light. You're a Phoenix Fire Critic, right? You have the same colored name. Sorry. The troll grumbles, but he does not seem like he wants to continue the argument.
They'd better not get killed by the creatures in the first round,
Velgos says as he points towards us.
I want to kill them myself.
I wouldn't worry too much about that, the owner says. I'd say that they have very good chances of making it to the second round alive, based on what I've seen so far. Now get going. I need to lead our guests back to their cells.
Fine, Velgos says. We'll discuss my payment later.
With these final words, the troll walks away from us, and he disappears into the darkness of the caverns. You're going to lead us back to our cells? I ask the owner. Not that I'm complaining, but aren't you the arena's owner? Why would you let us go so easily? I'm not letting you go, the owner says as he knocks on one of the walls and a secret door opens in front of him. I simply think that it would be a great waste if the stars of the show got killed before the I simply think that it would be a great waste if the stars of the show got killed before the spectacle even started. Besides, it is well within your rights to come and sabotage the arena before the main event. In fact, I hear that this used to be something of a tradition before the Stillwinter, when the Losathi were still in charge of this arena. It was even encouraged by the organizers. The secret trapdoor that led you from your cells to here is proof of that fact. Now, don't just stand there, follow me. This tunnel will lead us to where we need to go. Layla and I exchange a look, and we decide to follow the arena's owner into the newly revealed tunnel. You know, the owner says as the door closes itself behind us, I feel I should thank you for the entertainment that you've provided me today. You do? I say. Yes, the owner says. It's not every day that you get to see a Luna of the Sacred Woods massacre, a Raka of the Stillwinter, and General Firon of the Free Goblins wreak havoc through a monster-filled dungeon. I realize that you weren't the ones who brought them here, but I would have never found out about them if I hadn't followed you two since you fell into that lake. You've been following us from the very beginning? I ask him, shocked. Yes, the owner says. There is an ancient alarm system that has been set up here. There is an ancient alarm system that has been set up since the age of the Lasathi, meant to warn me if anyone triggers the trap from the arena cells. I found you while you were drying up by the fire, and I have been following you from afar ever since. But how did you manage to remain undetected? I ask him. We even had Araka with us who could detect invisible enemies. Your goblin friend is not the only one who knows about secret tunnels, the owner says. Over the years, I have built many such hidden corridors throughout these caverns, and I've had them covered with ceridium dust in order to make sure that I cannot be detected while I walk through them. I also had an illusionist cast a spell on the walls, which makes it so that you can see through them from inside the hidden tunnels, but not from the outside. This allowed me to watch the events unfold without giving myself away. So, I say, you've just been watching all this time instead of stopping us. Why? Because the show has already started, the owner says. I already told you, it is an old tradition of these arenas to have intruders attempting to sabotage the event, and I was not about to stop this from happening when it was the first time that I'd actually seen any participants make it this far since I've inherited this arena from my late father. I only stopped the troll from killing you because I am expecting great things from you during the main event. Why from us? I say. Why not any of the other gladiators? Because the two of you are the only ones using stat devices, the owner says. Oh, I say, not knowing exactly how to respond to this. Like I said, you are the stars of the show, the owner says. I've even had one of the high-ranking Lasathi tell me that I would lose my job if I didn't confiscate the Lasathi girl's device. But why would I? I've already decided that this is to be the crowning moment of my career. I do not care what happens afterwards. All I want is for this one show to be perfect. And you are both going to help me achieve my dream. We make it out of the tunnel, and we find ourselves in a familiar setting with a wooden cabin in front of us, and a lake further beyond. I don't know if you've noticed or not, the owner says, but beneath the lake that the two of you fell in, there is an old elevator built by the Lasathi hundreds of years ago. The elevator can be activated by a spider-shaped key that has been passed throughout my family for generations, but has never been used until now. He pulls a spider-shaped statuette made from stone out of his pocket, and he hands it to me. The mechanism that requires this key is located at the bottom of the lake, the owner says. Simply insert the statuette into the spider-shaped slot and rotate it twice in a clockwise direction. That should get the elevator going. Expect it to move a little slowly, though. It has not been used for centuries. I nod to him, and I jump into the water with the statuette in my right hand. I tell Layla to wait for me by the shore so I can come back for her once I've activated the elevator. After diving into the water, I immediately find the spider-shaped slot
that the owner was talking about, and I do as he said, inserting the statuette into the hole and rotating it twice. As I see the elevators start moving, I quickly swim back into the surface and then all the way to Layla. She jumps into the water and grabs onto me as I lead her right. She jumps into the water and grabs onto me as I lead her right above the slowly elevating platform. Next, we wait in silence for a few minutes while the platform gets out of the water and lifts us into the air, towards the ceiling. As we get close to the trapdoor that we initially fell through, the owner shouts his last words to us from the lake's shore. "Remember that I have high expectations from you," the owner says. "Make sure that you do not let me down." Next chapter. Ooh. Book 2, Chapter 3. Wait, no. Load a game. Okay, so transfer achievements to cloud, transfer checkpoint 1, 2. Okay. So, thank you everyone so much for hanging out and being here. I really appreciate y'all. I don't normally I hope that you enjoyed that. My next streaming day should be tomorrow, depending on mental health and homework and life. I should be playing Skyrim. I don't usually like raiding out when I read Magium because I know that there are people who are sleeping or who are just super relaxed, and I can never guarantee what type of energy we'll be raiding into. So I'm probably just gonna end here. But thank you everyone so much for hanging out and participating and just lurking, being here. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna end. Which is a shame because I enjoy raiding out. It was too much text for you, but you tried. That's okay. I appreciate you hanging out. It's not for everyone. Okay, so yeah, thank you everyone so much for being here. Okay, and I'm gonna stop the recording now.